As we've been pointing out for the last several months, that something is not right with Jet Airways. But for some reason, the government didn't consider a forensic invitation of the books. The government didn't file an F.I.R. And just over this weekend, we found that Naresh Goyal was deplaned as he was attempting to fly to Dubai, brought back into Mumbai airport, and he now has a lookout notice against him to keep him from leaving the country. What does this mean? Does this mean that the government has a reason? If they do, why isn't there an F.I.R.? The Income Tax Department, the ED and the Serious Fraud Office, Serious Fraud Investigative Office has been looking into Jet Airways for months. Why haven't those investigations concluded? Or are we simply waiting, or were we waiting for the elections to be completed before we took action? On the show with me, Anand Gurumurthy for the BJP, Parvez Damania, former director of Kingfisher, Vipul Saxena is an aviation expert, Vivek Hall is a senior journalist. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the show. I will start with Vivek. Vivek, very interesting turn of events, and just to tell our audience what happened, Naresh Goyal and his wife cleared immigration. They boarded their Emirates flight. The flight taxied and was about to take off when it was asked to return to the bay, and he was then deplaned. Now, if there was a lookout notice against him, he should have never cleared immigration to begin with.
Yeah, so basically, from what one's read in the media, the explanation being offered was that the spellings did not match. I mean, which is like, it's obviously
a cover-up of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, an afterthought.
Yes.
As to,
And if the spelling didn't match, how did you realize when the flight was about to take off?
I'm sure that even if the spellings did not match, the immigration officers are smart enough to recognize who Naresh Goyal is and who is not. So, I mean, it's a very, very specious reason being offered. So, I guess, probably someone would have figured out that he's on a flight. And
yes, and also the interesting part about it is it's still unclear whether a lookout notice is in place or not.
Yes.
Which is ambiguous. It's the same as not telling us whether or not an F.I.R. has been filed. They're not telling us what the Income Tax Department has found in their books, what the ED has found in their books. Everything about Jet Airways right now is ambiguous.
In fact, including the fact that whether SBI converted the debt into equity or not, which is by far the most important question for which there should be a clear answer, because I mean, if the SBI has converted the debt into equity, then the situation changes totally. So
yes, because if they're looking, and this is the thing, right? The difference between Naresh Goyal and Vijay Mallya is that when Vijay Mallya left the country, he was the main proprietor or the leader of that organization. Naresh Goyal is not. SBI is, but we don't know, because we don't know if that transaction ever went through. Yes. So we don't know who owns Jet Airways right now. Naresh Goyal or
as per the stock exchange, it's still Naresh Goyal, but then that information is as of March 31st. So.
Right, so it's very interesting. Also, we understand that F.I.R. was having a meeting with some of its investors in Dubai or Abu Dhabi at the time. So was Naresh Goyal flying out to meet with F.I.R. and the investors? What was he up to? There are no answers right now. So I'll go back to the question I asked you the previous show we did about Jet Airways. Do you believe there ought to be an investigation?
Oh, yes,
and does something seem now even more amiss than earlier?
For sure. As I've said in the past shows as well, that it wasn't, Jet Airways did not go under because of debt, because the interest on debt was just around 4% of its overall expenditure for the last 5 years. So it was clearly not making enough money. So there's something, which sort of did not make sense. I mean, so that has to be seriously investigated, and you need specialized, specialized agencies to do that. So.
Well, Ashok Kuppuswamy joins us right now, Head of Ground Services, Delhi Airport for Jet Airways, a former employee. Mr. Kuppuswamy, we don't have him right now. We'll try and get him on the line. But Parvez Damania, have you had an opportunity to speak with Naresh Goyal?
Yes.
He incidentally flew into the city to vote for this election. It was very dramatic.
This story of wrong passport, wrong name, I don't believe. Because when people like this move at the airport, there's an entourage moving with them. They don't move one or two people. There's a whole entourage. There'll be a whole group of people. There must have been a complete chaos at the airport knowing Naresh is leaving. So this story that the passport name didn't match, I don't believe. According to what I understand, I don't think there is a red corner notice on him at this stage. I think what happened when he cleared the immigration, they were supposed to inform somebody. I don't know whether it's ED or SFI or whatever. They informed that he is leaving the country. And that time they must have decided that he should not be allowed to leave the country. Otherwise, if
But
there
how do
was
they decide that?
That I don't know. Because if there was a notice, immediately the minute you give your passport, it's just the name, the passport numbers, they immediately reflects on your computer. Immediately you ask to step aside, you go to the immigration office.
Yes.
There either you show the order from the court or whatever that you're allowed to fly and you're allowed to go. If you do not have an order, your passport will be stamped and you will be asked to leave the airport.
Yes.
So definitely there was no legal notice at the immigration office for him not to leave. So I think later what transpired, I don't know. But anyway, what I think happened is excellent. And according to my information, I think they were en route to London. Good, that they've asked to stay back. Now, let the government investigation take place, let the government go through the books. And if the government flies that there is nothing wrong with the books and there's no diversification of funds, he'll be allowed to go. Till then, I think he should ask to stay behind. Until an inquiry is launched and clarification is done.
I just want to check, Vivek, in order to release a lookout notice, which means it prevents the person named in the lookout notice from leaving the country and crossing immigration, the government must have due cause. They must have a reason to do it. Can they do it based on, oh, maybe there's a suspicion, we don't really know, is that possible?
I'm really not sure of that.
No, let me clarify one thing. According to me, now the government has given banks the power. They don't need to go through a court process or inquiry. If the banks think there's reason enough for the person not to leave the country, the banks can directly inform the immigration. The banks have to have that power now. So
hang on. So that would mean that SBI has put a lookout notice on Naresh Goyal because SBI is the leader of the consortium of lenders. Now, does that mean that Naresh Goyal owns the airline or SBI owns the airline? Because if they're putting a lookout notice on him, then they knew something that they would have known a month ago when they took over this airline.
No, when they took, see, I'll tell you something. A board resolution has been passed saying the equity has been converted, and that letter is given on Jet Air letterhead to the stock exchange. That letter is available for anybody and everybody on the net. Now, ultimately, after that letter was issued, what procedure happened, I do not know. Today, we are not very clear as to SBI is the owner or Jet Air. If SBI is the owner, then this doesn't make sense. You are owner of the airline.
Yes.
You willingly bought the equity. You should have investigated before you bought the equity. Now, what is the issue? So, definitely, I think SBI has not really converted the loan to equity. That is why this notice. Otherwise, what would be the reason to give them?
No, I mean,
they were part owners of the airline.
even if they have, I mean, there can be, investigations into how the previous owner, carried out financial transactions and so on and so forth. So I think, I mean, more importantly, the good part is he did not leave the country. So.
No, but the laborers, the unions, Kiran Pavaskar had gone to the police station and they've asked the police to file an FIR. Now, whether the FIR was filed or just a complaint was lodged, I do not know.
Well, Captain D. Balraman joins us right now on the phone line. He's a pilot with Jet Airways. Captain Balraman, thank you for joining us. Okay, we seem to have trouble getting one of the employees on the phone right now. I wonder what that's about. Anand Gurumurthy of the BJP joins us. Anand Gurumurthy, there seems to be action being taken against Naresh Goyal immediately after the elections were over. Why is it that the ED, the Serious Fraud Investigating Office, the Income Tax Department have all been investigating this but have come up with nothing? Not a single FIR has been filed, including the FIR that the employees filed with the police station has not been registered. But for some reason, the government felt that they should hold him back. Why?
Well, see, this part of the information only ED, Income Tax Department, and all other departments will have, like why they haven't filed, FIRs or something. Because if the investigation is on, I'm sure they'll have something in their, investigation files which they can reveal. Only they can do that. Now, coming to the point of why he was not, why he was pulled back and why he was not let to go. Again, here also certain departments have taken the decision. And as the other panelists explained, the banks also have a right to,
yes, but who's taken the decision?
Again,
Gurumurthy?
individual rights and liberties is something which you are questioning. Yes, that is right. Individual has some rights and liberties, and we will only get to know in the future days, like what exactly happened there and what decisions the people took, who are the decision makers. We will get to know in the coming days.
Mr.
Because this is very
Anand
important.
Gurumurthy,
Some
so
of the
effectively,
modulus operandi that we saw.
we don't know who's issued the lookout notice. We don't know why the lookout notice was issued or what reason the government has right now to keep Naresh Goyal from flying out of the country.
Yeah, 1 minute. I'll just come to that. But that part, we have already seen many people, who are having a lot of issues with respect to, running their institutions. We have seen that some of them have left the country using the same liberty. So maybe the agencies had some kind of this thing to take such a decision. But that we cannot say that it's a decision from as a BJP spokesperson. I cannot throw that decision on them. It is their decision they have taken. They will have, I'm sure, sufficient documentation to take that decision, and it will come out in the coming days.
Okay, so, and see, this is the portion of the story that doesn't make sense, Mr. Gurumurthy. If the agencies you speak of had enough reason to stop Naresh Goyal from leaving the country, how did he get past immigration onto a flight, onto the tarmac of the airport, and had to bring the flight back? So obviously this was a last-minute reaction. What's going on?
Faye, you can always say it is a last-minute reaction or it was a decision. Whatever it is, Naresh Goyal has not left the country, and he's an individual. He has not left the country, and I don't think we can debate on that unless and until what has happened and exactly what comes out. We have to understand. Only then we can start debating on this.
Well, I'll tell you that's actually you're absolutely right, and I'll tell you why. Yes, I'll tell you why. You're absolutely right. We have to wait until something comes out. But nothing has come out of the government on this matter since April. In fact, the Register of Companies has been investigating the books of Jet Airways for almost more than 8 months. The Income Tax Department has been investigating since September last year. The Enforcement Directorate has been investigating, and they've issued summons to Jet Airways. The Serious Fraud Investigating Office started a separate investigation. None of these investigations have actually put out any results. So it's well and fair to tell us that you have to wait till something comes up. But how long do you want us to wait?
The thing is, Jet Airways as such, it is trying to restructure its loan, and it is in talks with many people. So it has been doing certain things, and in the last few weeks, some of the Jet Airways senior people have resigned. So this has given, this thing raised to other suspicions and other things in the public's mind. So there are a lot of things happening. They're, a registered company. So we have to wait and see. We cannot just, jump to conclusions and, over this thing. I cannot just express my personal opinions, because here there are a lot of people's jobs involved. There's a company involved which had been doing well and has gone into a bad debt now. And there are individuals involved who had set up the company, and, they have done their own way of running the show and other things. And there are investigation agencies which are looking into things like what went wrong, why it went wrong, was the fund diverted, and other things. So here, instead of sitting in the newsroom and telling a sentence saying that, oh, this has gone wrong, I would say it's best to leave it to the experts, whoever are the departments and the Justice Department. Let them do their work, and everything will come out.
You seem to have misunderstood the relationship between government and media. It is my job to ask questions, whether I sit in the studio or the newsroom. This is my job.
Yes,
now, I will continue to ask questions. You can continue to tell me you don't have information. That is your right. But you cannot sit there and tell me not to ask questions and wait and leave it, because every time we waited and left it in the past, we've seen what has happened. Also, I'm going to point out very interestingly that you had all of the information and the government did nothing about Naresh Goyal until after the elections were over. So let's not pretend like none of us know what is really going on here. We also have Captain Balraman on the phone line. He's a Jet Airways.
This is something which we need to understand.
What do we need to understand? You told me you have no information. So what lesson are you teaching me now?
It's not just not elections. It's not just about that.
It's not?
It's also about, following the procedures, and the procedures are being followed.
What is this procedure that is being followed? If if there is no evidence whatsoever against Mr. Goyal, why is he being treated like a fugitive? If there is evidence against Mr. Goyal, why haven't you filed an FIR? What procedure is being followed here? Please tell me. Not a single piece of procedure has been followed. That's why we're having this conversation. Which of it is it? Is there evidence or is there no evidence?
Things will come out when it. No. See, this is something which you have to ask the government agency, the person who is in charge of the government
agency is not giving us any information, Mr. Goyal.
I cannot say why the way to.
If Naresh Goyal moves the High Court demanding why he was stopped, the government has to come forward and give reason. What will the government say? We just thought he should not go. The government has to justify why did they stop him, and I'm sure the government has enough reason to stop him. If the reason exists, public should be made aware of it, and government should take action on that subject.
Captain D. Balraman joins us on the phone line. We understand he's a pilot with Jet Airways. Captain Balraman, are you on the phone right now? I just want to understand, have the Union of Pilots and Employees filed a complaint with the police so far about your dues that remain unpaid?
No, they have not filed any complaint. They have only filed a case in the Supreme Court to recover their salaries.
Okay.
Nothing else. They have not done anything more than that.
They have not done anything more than that. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, they must have filed the complaint when he has returned to vote, because he thought, because Congress will win this election, then he'll be in the safe. Because Congress has lost the election, he thought he'll escape out of the country.
Yes.
He tried that.
Okay.
Like how Vijay Mallya tried it. Then he realized it. I said, it is not a safe place to stay in this country. That is what he tried to escape, but somewhat thanks to this government, because he has not paid salary to so many people, he left all the employees in the lurch. They don't know what to do. All these employees don't know, they have not received the salaries. They have not received if they resign also, they don't know they will get the gratuity. And Naresh Goyal has not even paid the Provident Fund. And he looted all the money out of this country. He must be arrested as soon as possible.
Captain Balraman, can you tell us if you've received any communication from the organization or anyone else about the salaries that are due, or what the process is right now with the airline?
See, right now, all the places have been closed. All the small airports have been closed. All the employees have been requested to surrender their passes. And there is no communication from the head office, because in 2017, I informed Naresh Goyal, Vinay Dubey and Rahul Taneja will close down this airline. I informed him personally when I interacted with him. Because he did not listen. Because Vinay and...
Why did you inform him? Why were you of the opinion that the airline should be closed?
Because whenever I used to negotiate with Vinay Dubey, he always says, for any issues, give me 2 years' time. Because I have never seen any CEO more than 2 years in this company. I involved all the negotiations. Because Vinay Dubey, and on top of it, Naresh Goyal has been swindling money right from beginning of this airline, because right from selling the tickets and the cargo, because he uses his Jet Air. Right from the starting of this airline from 1993, he used to get 2% for each and every airline ticket which has been sold. He's been swindling money. And everybody knows all this aircraft which has been bought was bought by him and leased to Jet Airways, and he's been making money out of it.
Okay.
Now SpiceJet has renegotiated, got for the quarter of this lease amount. Where this money has gone?
Yes, in fact, I just want to bring in Mr. Vipul Saxena. He's an aviation expert who's been listening very carefully. Mr. Saxena, do you believe right now that there's something being hidden from the general public? Because we don't know if SBI has taken over the airline. We don't know if Naresh Goyal is still the owner of the airline. We don't know who's responsible or what's happening in the books right now. And like Anand Gurumurthy is saying, wait for all the procedures to be followed. None of the procedures are being followed in this case.
There are two, 3 points to make in this. One is that I'm sure SBI has definitely converted that into equity because without that, the aircraft would not have been leased out to various airlines, which they have done it. That's number one. But whether on record, when it will be shown, I don't know. Second thing is, as far as Jet Airways is concerned, as per the Companies Act, all their CEO has resigned, their CFO has resigned, their company secretary resigned, chairman and the other directors have been stepped out. So there is no minimum director which are required to for a company to be remain registered. It is not meeting the quorum. So I don't know. In my opinion, Jet Airways does not stand any legal entity itself. So that's another point of view which I would like to highlight. Thirdly, very surprisingly, Parvez would agree with me. There are prerequisites for AOP. Jet Airways at this moment do not meet any requirement of AOP to be continued. But I don't know why DGC is still not cancelled AOP. So I think there are a lot of things which are going on indirectly favoring these airlines. And Naresh Goyal tried to step out. SFI investigation going on. And let me tell you, when the SFI investigation goes on, to my knowledge, the person is informed that you are under investigation and you cannot leave the country. Still, he tried to do that and he's been caught. I'm sure banks must have given some information to the immigration people to inform them before this person leaves. So, this is what I think the whole scenario is. And as far as arrest of Naresh Goyal is concerned, unfortunately, none of the investigation has reached to the level of setting up a prima facie. Unless there is a prima facie, F.I.R. cannot be lodged. That is a legal position. So, because investigation have been going on slow for whatever reason, but till the time prima facie is established, F.I.R. cannot be lodged.
Well, that's very interesting because
and it's very unfortunate for the employees that they're not getting their salaries and all.
Vivek, if what Mr. Saxena is saying that the airline, the aircraft couldn't have been leased unless SBI had taken over. Now, if SBI has taken over, technically, then SBI is responsible for paying SBI back. How can they stop Naresh Goyal at the airport?
That's what it is. This whole situation is very confusing. And another thing I want to point out is what is happening on the SBI's plan to sell the airline. I just want to bring to your notice today, SpiceJet has inducted their 100th aircraft.
Yes.
So, Jet Air took 25 years to reach 119. Jet Air is already, SpiceJet has already reached 100 aircrafts. So, this whole story of SBI trying to sell Jet, I don't know how water is holding, and is it really true? Is somebody really making an effort?
But
or this was just an
Hindujas are interested in some way?
Yes, there is. We don't know the fact. But one thing I'll tell you, the Hindujas always had a certain amount of interest in the aviation business. Now, we don't know how serious it is. And again, I'm telling you something. I'll tell you something, what the gentleman said, who's an aviation expert, that certain checks are going to be due, certain engines are going to go fall due. So, now the more the time goes, the aircrafts to start will be more and more difficult. So, even the aircraft that are on the ground that have not flown for say 5 months, 6 months, 9 months are going to be virtually going to be in the position of being scrapped. So, whatever aircrafts remain with Jet, they're going to be worthless in some time unless they're regularly maintained. If there is no money and the engines are not being maintained, the aircrafts are not being maintained.
But it was very interesting what the captain told us when he was talking to us. He said all of the airport offices are being closed, employees are being asked to hand back their badges.
So basically, what will they buy? That's what we've been talking earlier, right?
What will they buy?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is really odd because you're absolutely right about the fact.
This is open secret.
Yes, go ahead.
This has been open secret, Faye.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Saxena.
Can I come on?
Yes, go ahead.
Faye, but this has been open secret, known to everybody that Naresh Goyal has been getting kickbacks in every deal that Jet Airways has made, whether it's buying the aircraft or even hiring pilots or even the maintenance. See, the Air India has got such a big setup here. They can always get contract for these airlines to maintain their aircraft, but still they managed to get the aircraft flying abroad for major maintenance, major overhaul, in which a lot of forex has been going on, and there's been kickback in that. But nobody from the government or DGCA ever imposed that why don't they use services of Air India? Because in every deal, Naresh Goyal has been getting money. That has been an open secret known to all the
Yes.
employees and most of the people.
But somehow
it
everybody's
never
been
came on
quiet about
record,
it, right?
through any of the investigations.
So, I mean, so what Sir says makes immense sense, because if you look at the books of Jet Airways, I mean, the airline hasn't been making money despite the fact that, it's been carrying passengers all along. So, there's something that doesn't make sense. I mean, there are expenses which are loaded on to the, profit and loss account, which shouldn't be there in the first place. And it's very, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, anyone with some basic understanding of finance, when, they look at the books of Jet, would understand that there is something that, there's a lot of hanky-panky going on here.
No, apart from the books of Jets, like I mentioned last time, if you go through the statistics available on the DGACA site, every parameter of Jet is almost there, same as Spice, Indigo, Air Vistara, Air Asia. If you see the load factors, we are talking of 88, 89, 90%. All over the world, if an airline does 65, 67%, that's considered good. If you are not making money at 88, 89%, and with virtually monopoly over the European sectors, if anybody had to fly Bombay, London, it was only on Jet. Jet had 3 full flights flying Bombay, London, always full, highest fares. If that kind of fares and that kind of load factors, you didn't make money, then that really needs investigation.
Well,
then something is wrong. Then why is anybody there in the aviation business anywhere in the world?
Yeah. I also want to read out Income Tax Department, and this is a story that was in the Economic Times, 27th April this year. It said, the Income Tax Department's investigation wing has completed a probe recently. Department insiders have told ET they suspect some irregularities in transactions between Jet Airways and its Dubai-based group companies. Now, we don't know who these Dubai-based group companies are, to evade taxes worth 650 crore rupees. Now, why hasn't that been raised?
So what basically the report means is that there has been some over-invoicing, and because of that, money has been diverted. And because of that, Jet is not making profits. And if you're not making profit, you don't pay tax.
Yes. So now let me read out what...
Let's put the criminal investigation on one side, where if Jet Air signed any personal guarantees, mortgage any personal asset, the bank is in full capacity or in full right to confiscate those or attach those. All I am asking, have any of the bankers or any of the borrowers moved on this way? Once, and I'm telling you, we are going closer and closer to NCLT. Once it goes into NCLT and winding up, there is nothing going to be recovered. This 8,500 crore and all the money of the other creditors is going to go down the drain. There are no buildings, there are no equipment, no land, nothing. And the aircraft that will be left in the ground, they'll be scrapped. They'll be worth nothing.
All right. Apparently, Captain Balram is on the phone. Balraman is on the phone line and he disagrees with you. Go ahead, Captain.
I must be given a chance. What Vijay Mallya said, when he was said to be extradited, he said, I'll pay 9,000 crores from there.
No, I don't understand. What are you referring to specifically?
No, because the situation is, the same Naresh Goyal said, I'll infuse 250 crores. If he has to infuse 250 crores, he would have paid the salary, no? He has enough money. He has swindled enough money out of India. Everybody knows. The media knows, the government knows, everybody knows about it.
But Captain Balraman, he also, I want to point out to you, at one point attempted to bid to buy back the airline from SBI, and then because F.I.R. threw a fit, he rolled back his bid. So that would suggest he has even more money than 250 crores stashed away. That would be more worrying.
Because when SBI gives so much of money, SBI people also must have taken money from him. Exactly. Nobody pays any money without giving any commissions in this country. You also know about it. Each and everybody knows about it. Because he was scared right now, because the same thing will happen what happened to Vijay Mallya.
Yes.
That is the only reason he brought Nicholas Cordasis.
Yes.
Who was the ex-CEO of this company. He was a mastermind who swindled everything out of this country. And financial, I'll tell you who are all responsible. These are all people who have to be investigated. One person has to be Nicholas Cordasis, ex-CEO of this company, who came, acted, and fled the country, and Vinay Dubey, Rahul Taneja, and financial in charge, Mr. Shivakumar and Anita Goyal. These are the people who are responsible for all this. Because I know this company, I worked in this company for 22 years. I know this very well.
And they all have resigned.
Yes, they've all resigned. They've all
They all have
resigned.
resigned.
At the right time,
So it's the lookout notice should not just be on Naresh Goyal, but a bunch of other people as well. And we won't be able to, let's be honest, we won't be able to achieve that or arrive at that list of people who should be looked into unless there is an investigation, which brings me back to my first question of why there's no F.I.R. to begin with. Let me also read this out for you. This is Economic Times, 27th, April. Register of Companies Mumbai has initiated an inspection of the books of Jet Airways almost 8 months after the Corporate Affairs Ministry directed it to probe allegations of the now grounded airline on siphoned off money.
The word siphoned off is there.
The word siphoned off is there. It says records are being proved to check if there were any instances of over-invoicing and related party transactions. There are reports of siphoning funds. While allegations of money laundering has not been probed by the agency, the ROC will surely look into it. It goes on to say the ROC did not have any logical reason why Jet Airways, which was making profit, has suddenly started making losses. On the other hand, they have received funds from outside the country. So obviously there was enough reason to investigate. And it also, the other thing I want to point out in this article, it says very clearly that the serious frauds in the Register of Companies initiated an inspection 8 months after the Corporate Affairs Ministry asked them to do so.
Yeah, so
Why 8 months? Why was the delay of 8 months? Everything must happen in that 8 months' time.
Vivek?
Yeah, I mean, they took their own sweet time. And I mean, if you give 8 months to anyone, obviously, that's a lot of time to clean up. So
Yes, or to cover up in this case. P. Kumar on the phone line from Chennai. Mr. Kumar, go ahead.
Yeah, it is a clear case of corporate misgovernance. I think second term of Mr. Modi, what he should look into corporate governance. You know, it is one after another airlines, if they are perishing out after this, we may not know that when the Go Air or SpiceJet will be happening. We need the airlines. Parvez has rightly said, if all the parameters are good on the corporate affairs or Air India's website or civil aviation, what has gone wrong? And it is just like an ILFS case of 99,000 crores, company is falling down like a pack of cards.
Yes.
You know, there should be every responsibility to be fixed. We should not go for chest thumping that IBC is there. Nothing is left. It has already been siphoned off. And the same person is trying to win 200 crores for a seat in the discussion of the Hindujas. So why he has not put money there for the salaries and put these airlines in running condition? Government
Yes.
at a stage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sandeep is on the phone line from Pune. Sandeep, go ahead. Sandeep?
Yeah, madam.
Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my question is that this is not something new that today Mr. Naresh was brought down from the body and the investigation team stopped him from the thing. But this thing was going from since long. So where was the government? Where was the investigation agency? What were they doing? Why were they waiting for the last moment when all this was happening?
Yes.
And to be frank enough, I really find there is a lot of fishy things happening, and this doesn't sound going in the correct track. How can you stop a person when you have so many things behind, so many people behind who have struggled, who are facing it day to day, and one person
Yes.
who is enjoying everything else?
Unfortunately, Vivek, normally as the process is, even if there is money recovered, the employees will perhaps be the last to see any of it.
yes, I mean, it starts with people, the banks from whom Jet Airways has borrowed, they need to be sort of paid off first. And, gradually you go down the hierarchy towards employees and, other people to whom the airline owes money. And I mean, from whatever, one understands, the Jet Airways owes around 11,000 crore to banks, of which around 7,500 crore is to Indian banks. So if at all, any buyer comes along and, State Bank of India is able to sell off the airline, then these are the guys who are likely to get paid first.
But also, a buyer is not going to come along and immediately pay off these loans. He'll expect them to be restructured.
No, so that's the whole thing. So it essentially depends on how do banks negotiate. So obviously, whenever you're trying to recover a loan, the idea is not to recover 100% of the loans anyway. Your idea is to recover as much as is possible. So if you look at the companies which have gone to NCLT also, the best recovery has been 65% in case of Bhushan Steel, where 35,000 crore out of 56,000 crore were recovered.
But there were assets there. No?
There were assets there. No, so which is
land,
yes,
everything.
which is
Bhushan
the next
Steel
point
was a
I
big
was trying to
company.
make.
There are no assets here.
So if they are not able to sell the airline, and let's say it goes to NCLT, then the recovery will be very, very low. Probably in the low,
First of all,
double
the
digits.
dues will go to the statutory dues. After the statutory, the banks and other secured creditors will come, and then the unsecured employees will come way down the line. And again, another thing. Let's put it this way, that the bank does manage to sell the airline. Even then, the jobs of the airline employees is 100% not secured, because the new airline or the new company will restructure the airline
and do whatever they need to.
They might take only 5,000 people, 3,000
But really,
people.
the question we have to ask at this point: what is the buyer buying? If there are no offices in any of the
basically buying all the rights that the landing rights, etc.
Those have already been handed out.
I'll tell you something.
No, but then they're saying it's only for a short period.
Were owned by Etihad. So those international rights are gone. The London slots are gone to Etihad.
The Indian slots have already been given out to other airlines.
What they're saying is that this has been done for a short period of time,
And
so
it
that
will be
the
given
How
airfares
can
don't
you
spike.
expect SpiceJet to induct their 100th aircraft,
3 months. It's been
put
done
them
for 3
into
months.
it, use the slots, and then say, okay, now Jet has come back, I'll
I will give them back.
50 aircrafts to somebody else.
So
this
also
sounds like
consider the
child's
fact
play,
that all of the offices in all of the airports, the smaller airports, have been closed. Employees have been asked to hand back their badges, which means that space no longer exists there. Those airports will allot.
So immediately to
So
Indigo
which is
Spice.
what, when we had the first discussion on Jet, the point that both of us made was that it is easier to sell a functional airline than a non-functional one.
Yes, which brings us back to why SBI took over the airline and then let it be
They were
grounded.
very clear on 23rd that we will not let this airline close down. It's a great airline. We will do everything. We will put, and then 25th they took over. They didn't put in the money.
One second, I have Mr. Kailash Vasudev on the phone line with me right now. He's a senior lawyer, very a senior voice with the Supreme Court. Mr. Vasudev, good evening, and thank you for taking our call. We have a quick question for you. We understand that Mr. Naresh Goyal has been grounded, effectively offloaded from an aircraft when he was taking off for Dubai, and brought back into Mumbai airport by immigration because there's a lookout notice against him. How he crossed immigration to begin with, we don't understand. Now, we don't know which department of the government has issued that lookout notice and on what evidence, because none of the investigations are complete, and also not a single F.I.R. has been filed against him. So, do you see this as problematic? Because they don't have, if they don't have evidence, why are they treating him like a fugitive? And if they have evidence, why haven't they filed an FIR?
Two things. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's like this. You can arrest anybody at the airport. If you have a lookout notice, the enforcement directorate can issue it. The fraud agencies can also issue a warrant for the arrest of a person or keep the person in preventive custody, preventing them from fleeing the country. There is no difficulty on that. The larger question which is arising today with regard to Jet and many other institutions which are going towards the bankruptcy areas is why steps are not taken earlier. You are aware of the fact that Jet was collapsing in January when things started going haywire. And after that, the effective measures which should be taken by taking action against the companies and trying to sell them when they're going concerns to recover the maximum amounts, we miss out on those opportunities. You must take action when the company is going and you find it is sinking for the purposes of more than anything else securing the employees. In the gradation of payments, it is always the secured creditors who come first. The employees are the third set of people who are to be paid. But they are the worst affected because they have nothing else to look forward to. The secured creditors will always get a chunk of the pie. So here is where we need to look at the law once again to protect the interest of employees who survive on this. The creditors, the secured creditors are always willing to play around with these because every company is looking at a situation where they may be able to revive it. If revival comes after 2-3 years, the employees are going to be suffering for 2-3 years, maybe suffering immediately because they won't have money to pay for school fees, medical bills, all sorts of things. Here is where we've been asking for a relook at the law and the suggestion that the IBC, the banking code the bankruptcy code also be amended to give it the same preference as was given in earlier points of time under different statutes. The IBC, unfortunately, has a tendency to overrule all other statutes which come within it, so the employees go into the back burner. This has to be re-looked at by the government and also the participation of the employee-employee relationship as also creditor-employee relationship.
I think,
yes.
You see, it's the same thing as, what happened in the case of real estate, where all, people who had bought flats
Yes.
did not have the same right as bankers,
Yes.
as banks who had lent.
Absolutely.
And then that situation sort of changed over a period of time. So.
See, the interesting part of it is, for the past 40, 50 years, whenever you see a company going into bankruptcy or into winding up, the employees are the persons who have last on the list, and they're the ones who take the kicking most. And if you don't turn around and bring this into an egalitarian situation where employees will be given their protections, your very design of working would really not give advantage to those who have created the industry and have failed at the hands of the management. It's the management who should be made to sort of, even when the companies are running, to keep aside money in the reserves for these purposes. There's some kind of a change has to come about.
Yes, Vivek?
If you don't have that change, well, we will have the same situation. Hundreds of people will go on the road with no source of income.
Also, I guess what will happen is, the outstanding dues to the employees will it'll not be a very huge amount anyway. So.
Yes. I just want to also point out
pay them. That is what the question. The employees moved the Supreme Court, what the lawyer captain said, forcing the State Bank of India to pay the salaries. Their State Bank of India said, we are just a lender, we are not an owner. The State Bank, according to me, has made
I find it interesting that the State Bank of India can swing between being an owner and a lender as it pleases. So when it's leasing out the aircraft, it's suddenly owner. When it's choosing not to pay the employees, it's suddenly a lender. Because when it's putting a lookout notice, it's suddenly a lender again.
Because when Air India wanted the aircraft, the wide-body aircraft, they went to State Bank of India to negotiate taking of the aircraft.
And I mean, you can't do that, without being the owner, I guess.
Without being the owner. I also want to ask Mr. Vasudev this question. Mr. Vasudev, the Registrar of Companies has been sitting on an investigation for 9 months, Income Tax Department for 8 months, the Enforcement Directorate and the Serious Fraud Office for a few months also. In terms of what you said, if people have been quiet about this and a lot of time has gone, what is your reaction to the fact that these investigations have taken this long? And they have reason to believe that there was money being siphoned off, that there was over-invoicing, and there was money exchanged between Jet Airways in India and Dubai where tax was not paid. So money was moved out of the country.
You see, the answer here is this. You had the opportunity for more than a year to take action. You've taken no action. At that point of time, the airline was working. Funds were available, everything was circulating around. What happens when you have such a long investigation is that you give the promoters or the owners to siphon things and play with the whole system. Here is where the grievance comes in, and here is where I personally feel that the government should act fast in these matters. Look what happened to Kingfisher. In Kingfisher, the only thing is that Mr. Malia managed to get away. And interestingly, he flew out on a Jet Airways flight. Now here, the Jet Airways owners are stopped in Etihad because they have a tie-up with them, and rightly so. So you still have Mr. Goyal available to you to disclose all that which he knows. In the case of Kingfisher, he didn't know where anything went because he went away. He went away with 18 bags. So the position is that till you don't improve your investigation systems and bring an immediate closure to whatever you are doing, they're going to have these situations of an impossible recovery and an impossible mode to find out what happened. And this is what's happened to Jet.
Absolutely.
We've like a couple of thousand airlines, a couple of thousand staff, out of which you got trained pilots, you got aircraft, you got leasing, you got landing rights. You could revive this whole thing at that point of time.
Yes.
May not through Etihad, but through other airlines and other systems. What stopped you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Vasudev, for joining us on the phone line. And Annabelle, I thank my panels. I believe that this is where we've left it right now. So while the government perhaps did a very prompt thing by ensuring that Naresh Goyal does not leave the country, because now he's in the country and he cannot get out, what the delay has resulted in is 7,500 crore rupees that will probably never be seen again. An airline that will probably never take off again, and employees that will never see their dues being paid. What this has done is allowed perhaps for a clever cover-up of various things that have obviously gone wrong in this airline. But the 8-month, 9-month delay of all the investigating agencies has allowed for the money to maybe be siphoned off. And even if they get to the bottom of it now, the country will perhaps never see the money again. If the agencies had moved a year ago, when the airline was still in flight and it was still active, they perhaps would have done a far better job of recovering the money and keeping those employees employed. Too much time wasted. Too many opportunities we've left gone by. Thanks for watching.